When I left corporate America, it was, why would you leave such a high paying, steady job with a good company with good benefits as a mother, like as a single
Yeah.
mom? Like, why would you, where else? And then I heard after that, it was like, you're never going to make that kind of money as a therapist. Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high-achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life-altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, Mama. I am so glad you're here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that I have created an incredible free guide to help you access and ignite your inner chill. Yes, this tool is to help you calm down, honey. So this guide, this resource is going to walk you through how to grow in your anxiety awareness. Like, how is your anxiety presenting? How is it showing up? What are the signs and symptoms for you? Because there's a wide range of normal when it comes to dysregulation. I also share with you how to regulate your nervous system so you can access your inner calm, so you can ignite your inner chill. Because let me tell you this, we cannot know who we are, what our gifts are, what our mission is in this world, what the next best step is for us when we're coming from a dysregulated nervous system. Okay, so in everything that I teach, we have to regulate first, take care of the body first, and then we can access the wisdom that we need to make the decisions beyond that, and also to discover who we really are buried under who the world told us to be. I give you guys in this free guide my favorite go-to therapeutic technique to help you reframe your negative inner dialogue, because thoughts become things and thoughts have energy. And if we're walking around with a negative inner bee in our head all day, it's really hard to feel good and do good in the world. Lastly, I share about closing your stress cycle. So I teach you how to actually process feelings, how to move the anxiety out of your body, and how to work through big feelings as they come up. I also throw in there a ton of extra resources for you. So if you are ready to access your inner calm, to ignite your inner chill so that you can become the youest you and thrive, this is the first step. And so I've linked it in the show notes. Make sure you get on that today. And let's get into today's episode, my friends. I had such a juicy conversation with my friend Marisa Lonic. She is a certified intuitive life and business coach, keynote speaker, 3-time author, top-rated podcast host, and the founder of Mama Work It and Marisa Lonic Coaching and Consulting. After spending nearly 15 years in corporate leadership positions, Marisa shifted gears to become a full-time entrepreneur and coach. Her time management and goal achievement strategies have helped individuals in over 90 countries turn their dreams into reality, even when they thought they had no time to make any of them happen. That is exactly what I love most about this conversation, y'all. We talk about the unique hurdles that working moms encounter. We talk about the power of intentionality and how we structure our days and how we use our time and energy wisely, honey, to create the life we actually want. We talk about how practicing self-love isn't just beneficial for us, but also serves as a powerful example for our kids. You are going to love her. You are going to love this conversation. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome back, everybody, to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom in a life unperfected. You guys, I'm so excited to have the Marisa Lonic in the house with us today in her fabulous freaking red lip. If you are not watching this on YouTube, get your fanny over there because girl, you're rocking it and I love it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is like the red lipstick or like the bright, bold the bright, bold lip. It
Oh,
just makes you feel
if
like a
I
different
need an
person,
energy
I think.
boost and my, like, dose of sunlight and my
Yes.
meditation, that shit's not popping off, the red lip always does. Back to that.
Can always
Welcome
go
to the
back to
show. I'm
that.
so glad you're here. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do, and also the fact that you have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 babies.
Yes. Thank you so much for
Yay.
having me. I'm honored to be a guest on the show, and I can't wait for this conversation. My name's Marisa Lonic, and I am the founder of an organization called Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. There are many hats that we wear. And that is what I do. I am a certified intuitive life and business coach. I an author, 3-time author. I have developed courses and just different resources for the working mom community. I'm a mom, as you mentioned, of 4 kiddos. My kids are 10, 10, 6, and 4. So
Dang.
I've got a set of twins and then 2 other singletons. They call them when you're a twin mom,
Oh,
you call your
singletons.
other
We've got the
babies
twins and the
singletons.
singles. Oh, I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I also run Marisa Lonic Coaching and Consulting, where I work with organizations in helping them with different time management, productivity, communication, wellness, things like all sorts of good stuff like that. And I feel so
Yeah,
grateful that I
and you
get to
have a
do what I do
podcast, the
every
Mama
day.
Work It podcast, which I love. So plug that bad boy too.
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. And I can't wait for
Yes.
you to be a guest on
I
my
love it.
show
Okay,
coming
so
soon.
how
Stay
did you get
tuned.
into this? Because I know we have similar backgrounds. So tell us your origin story. Tell us all the things on how you became a certified intuitive
Okay.
life and business coach and also became really passionate about empowering the working mama.
Absolutely. Yes. So I was the like traditional working mom back in the day, right? I had my twin babies. They arrived early to the party. And when you are a type A planner, that can really rock your world. Not only being surprised to hear you're pregnant with twins, but
Oh
then
my
having them
gosh.
show up early before when you're in the middle of a move and
Wow.
a renovation and all the things. So like I was baptism by fire entering motherhood. And then with any, I think, mom going back to work, no matter if it's your first or your 5th baby, I think that
Mhm,
transition's always a little challenging. And I went through all the things that all moms
mhm,
typically feel, all the feels. I think from the outside looking in, it
mm,
appeared like I had my
mhm,
shit
mhm,
together for the most part, right? I think the house was
mhm.
fairly put together most days. Kids were taken care of, had a great job, great husband, all the things. But something inside me was not vibing, not aligning. And I couldn't really figure out what it was. And I'd go
Mm.
through this really vicious cycle. And I'm sure you can attest to feeling this way where you're
Na
like
na na
work,
na na
work,
na.
work, work, work. And then you
Na na
feel
yeah.
all na na. Okay. This is not a singing show, I know. And then you get all this like resentment and frustration and anger. And then
Mm,
because you're not doing anything for you, you're just taking care
mm,
of everyone and everything around you and trying to show up at work and show up at home and show up as a wife and show up as a friend and show up at all these things. And so what would I do? I would take a band-aid of like a mani pedi and I'd slap it on my self-care gushing wound that
yeah.
probably needed 75 stitches at the time. And I'd repeat the cycle all over again. And something was not working for me. And so lo and behold, during that time, I was offered a significant job promotion in the corporate world. And this meant that I would have to transition from living on the East Coast where I was near family, friends, all the things like the environment I'd always known to moving all the way to the West Coast. And I'm an adventure seeker. I don't like to turn down a challenge, but let me tell you, in that moment, I was filled with fear about taking on this new position because even though I was excited to grow my career and I really wanted to excel, I'm an ambitious
Yeah.
woman, as I know many of your listeners are, I was terrified because
Mhm,
I already felt like I had no time. How could I
mhm.
possibly take on this new challenge? Spoiler alert,
We are
I
not
did.
surprised, love. We are not
And
surprised we said
what
yes to that.
what I realized, yes, and what I realized, even though I was scared shitless, was you figure it out as you always do, moms listening, women
Mm,
listening. We always figure it out. And it didn't necessarily get harder to manage my time and my things and all the moving parts, it just got different. But I had figured out a thing or two because I'd start getting questions that were like, I had started blogging at this time. I was doing lots of different things, still running in my corporate world and all the stuff, and now adding to my family, had my third son. And I'd get the question like, how do you have time for that? And I'd always get that question about time. And I'm like, I don't know, I just make it work but I felt really good about juggling all these things. And so I started blogging for the working mom specifically because I felt like moms had a ton of resources, but traditional working moms who were actually like leaving their babies with a nanny or a babysitter or a daycare and running to catch the train and then running home and then making dinner and then doing bath time and feeling exhausted at the end of the day. I felt like there weren't enough resources for us. And so I started blogging. I wrote my first book.
Awesome.
That's where Mama Work It was born. And it just evolved from there.
What led up to, I imagine at some point, you took a leap of faith from the corporate gig and leapt into your own business.
Yes.
So will you talk a little bit about that transition?
Yes. Yeah.
Hitting all the scary stuff, and then we'll tell everybody how to do it.
We're telling all the horror stories. No, they're good stories. They're good stories. And you have to be scared sometimes to grow and change and do big things in your world. So yes, I juggled my side hustle, I'll say my business that I used to downplay all the time when I was in the corporate world because it wasn't yet my identity at that point. But I juggled that alongside my corporate role for nearly
3 babies?
years.
You had
No,
4
I had
babies of
added the
full-time
fourth
corporate
during that
and
time.
juggling and it was blogging, right? Blogging and writing? Or had it a course?
Yes,
Oh my
blogging, writing. I'd
God.
created a
Girl,
couple
that's a legit
courses in that
business.
time. I was trying to do a lot of I was trying to make a lot of my income streams passive because obviously you don't necessarily have the flexibility when you work in the corporate world to be taking on coaching clients at normal hours of the day for the most part. So most of my work was passive, but I was still showing up. I was still writing a weekly newsletter for the most part. I was still developing content and doing all these things and writing and courses. You know what, Brooke, it worked for me for a while. It really did. Like it was flowing and doing just fine. And so when women tell me like, oh, I don't have time to start a business or do that. Yes, you do. You absolutely can if you want to. It's a matter of if you want to make it happen and shuffle some things around and say no to some other things and yes to this or whatever it is. It's when it started to feel misaligned was when I started getting the intuitive nudges, the things that wouldn't go away, that the whispers started becoming regular tone of voice
get
to
the hell
shouts
out
to
of there.
yelling like
Into the
violently
world
in my
blowing up
ear.
and like, okay, now's the time.
And so I battled that inner kind of dialogue back and forth for probably about a year before I really just put my foot down and was like, it's time. And let me tell you, it did not make sense on paper. It probably was a really risky thing to do. And I'm not a risky person. I'm actually quite risk averse in a lot of ways. I like adventure. I love a lot of things. But when it comes to finances and money and just like taking care of my family, I'm very conservative in those ways. And so it took a lot of inner work, I think the entrepreneurial journey is quite spiritual, to be honest. It took a lot of practice there, working with a coach, just all the things to really get to a point where I was like, it's now.
And so you did. So you just launched right off. What was your did you ramp up in the side hustle or did you just take that leap of faith? What was your actual strategy there? And I also want to completely double click on how entrepreneurship is a spiritual assignment, but we'll get to that next. So what was your ramp up? Like, how did you do that?
Yes. Yeah. I definitely had things in place to help me be successful, but I wouldn't say that I had more money coming in the door necessarily at the time that I quit. Like I wasn't like, oh, I had just launched this thing and brought in my first 5-figure month or something like that. And I felt, oh, I have a little cushion now. No, not at all. I think I had made some investments with regards to like a new business coach that I was signed on to work with for 6 months and felt really confident in that relationship and partnership. I had gotten my childcare situation in order so that I was still able to show up and spend the time with my kids because summer was coming up when I had left. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be able to do really cool, fun things with my kids this
Mm,
summer. And yet I also have these hours in place where I have someone there that's going to watch my kids and be
mhm,
able to work and focus without feeling that
mhm,
mom guilt of trying to do everything at once.
mm.
I don't think that works very well. And I say that because this was 2021. And if you were a mom in 2021, you know your childcare
Yep.
situation was likely a freaking hot mess. So mine was a hot mess for a long time. Normally, it wouldn't be, right? When you work in the corporate world, you need a good childcare situation in place. But mine at that time was a disaster because we were
Yeah.
still very much in like pandemic time. So I was like, I need to get this situation in order so I can feel confident I have the energy and focus I can
Mhm.
do to really grow this business. So that those are the sort of things I did to ramp up, and obviously some strategy and just some things that I really wanted to execute goals and things like that for
Mhm.
the remainder of the
Yeah, I
year.
feel like you can set yourself up for success the best that you can. A lot of times working moms are like it's either one or the other. A lot of times you have to do both for a little while. You've got to work that corporate job to get your savings in order or to invest in the programs or to get your child care. You're going to do both for a little while. Get yourself where you have at least a regulated nervous system to be able to make decisions and create and offer a service. But then there is a leap of faith at some point where all the ducks are not lined up. The money isn't coming yet. You just have to fully trust yourself and trust something bigger than you to know that you are going to, with all the time and energy and sanity that you were giving corporate, pour into something you love and you will actually make it happen. And I think that's what gets us into the spiritual conversation. So, talk me through building your trust muscle and the faith journey and just how that's been a spiritual evolution for you personally.
Yes, absolutely. I've always
Mhm.
been a person of faith and I've always been quite spiritual, but I think experiences
Mm.
like these really
Yeah.
strengthen that for me in life. And in my book that I wrote about this whole journey of going from employee to
Mhm.
entrepreneur, it's called Biz Momagement, the working mom's guide to go from employee to entrepreneur. I have an entire chapter dedicated to the red bird. Okay. The red bird, you guys, just in a nutshell, this was
Oh.
the sign that I was really looking for during
Mm.
that time of what do I do here? Do I leave? I went through a
Identity
total like
process. Yeah.
back and forth. Yeah, just a back and forth of I feel so ungrateful to leave this great job. I love this job. Like I wasn't one of those people who hated what I did, hated the
And
company.
you were
Like I
probably
actually
good at it
really
too.
loved what I did and identified with yeah, and identified with that quite a bit and just struggled a lot and just really had to lean into that intuition and that spirituality
Mm.
and this red bird was the sign that I would ask to see. And again, it's a longer story than we'll talk about today, but like it started showing up everywhere for
Mm.
me, everywhere you could imagine. And I mean, in the
Mhm.
most weird situations, it's almost the signs were just like so in my face. And it took me an entire year to really listen, to really develop that courage. And I want to encourage you too. If I'm pretty stubborn in that way, and like I said, kind of risk averse. So even when the sign is right there in front of me, I tend to really dwell on it for a while and I need to see it like 100 times. And if that's
Yeah.
you too, it's okay. Like
Yeah.
timing is timing is divine timing. You can't rush these things and you
Mhm.
can't slow them down either. It's good to have the reinforcement of the right people in your life, you know, the coach or the person to talk to, the friend, the therapist, whoever it is, but trust that if this is indeed your path, you're going to take
Yes.
it. And so it took me a while to take
Yeah.
it and fully get on board with it. But I always knew sort of deep down it was the
Mm.
direction I was going. And I love that even after I did it and I had that conversation and really put in my resignation and did all that stuff. And I didn't feel any regret. I felt
Mhm.
actually relief after I had done that. But
Mhm.
I got such confirmation via that red bird sign, like just
Yeah.
days later, that I was like, all right, I know. I'm going to stop asking now.
Oh, I love that. I'm all about the signs. And first of all, a red bird is not common. It's not common to see red bird, at least where I live. Maybe they are where you live, but like we are always being guided and we're always right on time. And I do believe that is a strategy for success. Like when you like settle into trusting Like, I've got this, they've got me, whatever your spiritual understanding is. And my heart is in the right place. My intentions are pure. And I trust that I show up for things that matter to me. That is a winning strategy right there. And while you can't quantify it, I can feel it. I can feel it with you of there was just this knowing, this inner knowing, and it may have taken me a while to get there, which is perfectly fine, but there's a knowing, like there's more for me and I'm going to do it. And now it's time. And it's never going to feel like the perfect right time. You do have to make that leap of faith, but like
Never.
we've figured everything else out up to this point. And let me just say this. If you can figure out corporate America and 4 children and a husband, queen, you can do anything. Like, I want those queens on my
Well, thank
team till the
you.
cows come home. They get things done. They know how to get things done. They're smart with their time.
Yes.
They're smart with their energy. They know how to set boundaries. So you are going to win. But I do think that trust piece, that faith piece, sometimes isn't really talked about, but it's like essential. It's literally essential. And just connecting to that daily and trusting and knowing that you're guided. Like, this is it. My success is inevitable because I'm guided. Does it mean it's going to be easy? No, nobody promised easy, but inevitable? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll just say for any skeptics listening, again, I've always been a woman of faith, but I am a very logical person. I'm very
Yep.
analytical, very show me the
Yes.
numbers, make it make sense.
Yeah.
This was not entirely comfortable for me. In fact,
Yeah.
I would dare to say it was
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
uncomfortable to
because
lean into that.
you didn't see the numbers. There are no numbers. It doesn't make sense. There
They're angel numbers, and sometimes those
Yeah.
are
Well, and I
helpful.
don't know about you, and I don't know what the communication was from your people around you, but when I left corporate America, it was very much, why would you leave such a high paying, steady job with a good company with good benefits as a mother, like as a single
Yeah.
mom? Like, why would you, where else? And then I heard after that, it was like, you're never going to make that kind of money as a therapist. And I was like, listen, you don't understand. Like, I make money is not what I'm concerned about. Like, I will always find a way to make money. You know what I'm saying? That is not what I lose sleep about. Like, the money comes, but I wanted to do something that was more soul led and heart led. But there was a lot of naysayers. So, did you have skeptics and naysayers when you took that leap of faith as well? Or what was the messaging or conditioning that you had around that?
One thing I just want to touch upon when you said, I'm always going to find a way to make money. That's something a mentor told me during my time of transition when I was really scared. She said, Marisa,
Yeah.
you're smart. You're always going to find a way to make money. And I
Yeah.
think we forget that about
We're
ourselves.
resourceful.
Yeah, we're pretty well equipped to do that. Yeah. Naysayers. I actually, believe it or not, I'm a fairly private person. And so when big things like this are happening for me in life, I don't tell a lot of people because I process better without
Yeah.
everyone's
Yes.
opinions. And I think that was quite purposeful in this case. I told a select few people who I didn't just tell people who I thought would yes me or anything like that. I just told people that were really in that circle of trust,
Oh my
like
God, I
in Meet the
love that
Parents that he
movie.
talks about,
Meet the Parents.
And
That's
so
such a class.
you too. So, of course, it was a good back and forth with some people in my life who were like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? But nobody was there to crush my dreams because they are supportive individuals in my life. And so even if there was some hesitation, it was shared with such love. And I think anyone who knows me that well knows I am not someone who gives up and I am not someone who lets a challenge scare me. And so I think my own biggest critic was me. I was getting in my own way the
Yeah,
most.
I feel like that resonates with so many of us that we get in our way. And I also like what you're saying about keeping things close to the chest to protect, like protecting your dream, protecting your vision, certainly running it by your circle of trust, but protecting it so that you can stay really focused on the build of that like little seedling that's trying to grow in the middle of a storm.
Totally. It needs a lot of TLC.
All right. So, in terms of us getting in our own way, I know that you support working moms who have big dreams and feel like they don't have enough time. Where are you? What are some of the themes, the common themes of where you maybe you personally or your clients and the community that you serve? Where are we as working moms getting in our own way? And what can we do about it?
Yeah, we have the thing about being in this season of life is we have so many really valid excuses that stop us. And I say that with such love because these aren't just like BS things that we're telling ourselves. They're very
Yes.
real. They're very real. They're very valid. And so I don't want to minimize the fact that this is a challenging season and there probably are a lot of unpredictable things that come up for you on the regular. It probably feels like you're just coming up for air or like you're just grasping things and then they're gone. And, you can barely hang on to a routine or just feeling like you're on top of your game and things like that. And yet I also want to say, because I'm a kind but firm direct New Yorker at heart here, I'm from New York, those are really just excuses though. And so even though they're quite valid and they feel very important and they feel like they always take priority and precedent, you're the one making that happen. You're the one making it number one on your list and putting this thing that you really want to accomplish and do for not just yourself, but maybe your family or everyone around you or whoever, your legacy, fill in the blank of your why. You're the one putting it down at number 11 on the list. And we can barely get through 1 through 5. So think about 11. That's never going to happen. So you really do have to be your own cheerleader and your own kind of law enforcement to get it done. And I'm not saying not to tap into support to make that happen. Like, obviously, it takes a village. We definitely need those supportive pieces, but even just investing in a coach. For me, coaches have been instrumental in the last 10 years. The things that I've been able to accomplish, and I'm pretty damn self-motivated, but the things I've been able to accomplish because of those coaching investments and partnerships have been insane. Like I wouldn't be where I am without those partnerships. And it is an investment. I get that. But when you pay, you play. And so when you're making that investment in yourself of your time, your finances, your commitment to that, you're going to go and move forward and move mountains and
I
get
couldn't
things
agree
done.
more. And I feel like we have sometimes this belief that we can't or shouldn't prioritize our dream or our business or whatever because of X, Y, and Z belief system we have. What supported you in making your business in that top 5? I feel like moms are like, they feel bad about investing in themselves. They feel bad about claiming space on their calendar. They feel bad. And it's no, guys, like you are the prize. Like when you take care of yourself, you're so much better as a wife and as a mother and as a coach and as a community member. But I think what moms might be bumping up against as right now, as we're having this conversation, is I want my dream to be in the top 5, but it's hard to prioritize that. I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like my kids' health. I feel like my marriage. I feel like my quality time. I feel like saving for fucking college, whatever, which, yeah, I totally agree, are all excuses. But they're excuses that come from a deeply ingrained subconscious place around what a mother should and should not do and invest in. So can you remember what were some of the belief systems that you had that either helped you prioritize your big dream or that you had to work through with a coach or something to allow yourself the space to do that?
Yes. And I've come a long way in this. Trust me when I say, like, I was probably like at the bottom of where these problems are at. And I'm still a work in progress. Like, I still have my issues. But things that changed it for me were some perspective shifts. For example, I'll give you a story real quick. When I was working in the corporate world, my weekends were such gold. Those were the 2 days a week I had with my family to catch up on my life and my home, organize things, get myself ready for the next week ahead for success. And one time I remember I had 3 young kids at the time, got invited to go to this thing called Mom's Day Away. It was a mom's trip to Napa Valley, close to where I live, but like a day trip. So all day I had to pay into this party bus to take us there, all the wine tasting. So it was like an investment financially. It was a whole day away from my family on a weekend where that was my priority typically. It was, but also sounded,
yeah, we're like, where is
amazing,
this thing still
right?
happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need another one of these. So I got the invite and my first reaction was like, well, that sounds awesome. And then immediately following that was like, well, I can't do that. Like, I can't be away from my family all day on a Saturday. I can't
There it is.
drop a few $100s on this. Like all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. And I really struggled with it. I ignored the invite, got embarrassed and called out because I hadn't RSVP'd by the date. Then I really had to figure this out. And I ended up saying yes. And what I walked away from that day was this really important lesson of not only coming home and feeling really good and being really happy, not like wine drunk happy, like just really happy that I had filled my cup for my family and just felt like I could bring my best self to them, but also that I modeled this for my kids. Like what I realized was if I continued to say no to all these fun things or put everyone first before me, I was parenting in a way that showed my family, my boys, when they grew up. I don't have girls, I have boys, but still, nonetheless, when they became adults, that adulting means life sucks. You basically do everything for your kids or everyone around you. You never say yes to fun things for yourself because that would mean taking time away from them and you're miserable. And I did not want them to think that's what being an adult was. I wanted them to say yes to a day away in Napa Valley if they were invited and not even question going on this trip. I wanted them to say yes to experiences and opportunities and just things that, yes, could take them away from their family temporarily for the day or the weekend or whatever it was, but also could be great ways to prioritize themselves. And it was like I wanted them to love themselves the way I loved them. And that was a good way for me to show it. And so that was a good pivotal moment for me in this story. Now, are there days where I still am like, oh, I feel a little guilty about doing that or spending that? Of course. I'm a human being. I still have this like growth journey I'm on, but I'm so far ahead of where I was.
That's such a beautiful paradigm shift that you're sharing with us right now, which is like, what are we teaching our kids? When we become the martyr, when we become resentful, when we become overwhelmed, when we always put everyone first, what are we teaching them? We think subconsciously we're teaching them that they're so freaking lovable that we would just do anything for them, but they're basically going to replicate our behavior when they grow up. And I know every mom listening wants, if they have daughters or sons, they want their kids to grow up and tend to their needs and take care of themselves and have fun and be authentic. And if their husbands, make sure that the mom and the wife in their world is doing that same thing too, but they're going to do what we showed them, not what we teach them. And when we take the time to invest in ourselves, to go do something fun, to be passionate about something outside the home, to grow a business, like what are our kids learning from that? So much. Like I think about even just the legacy of like our podcast. Someday my kids listening to it when I'm really old, like mom really stood for something. And that's fucking cool. And maybe she was a little brass and talked about taboo things and pushed the envelope because she was a disruptor. And I want that to normalize for them that they can stand for fucking something. And that gets to be a priority. Yeah.
Ooh, I got chills when you said
have
that.
you ever
I
thought
love
about that?
that.
And they're also going to hear me like diss on them and make fun of my husband, like all the things. Like they're going to feel that passion. And that's a whole side of me that they don't get on Sunday at the playground. They do, but it's different. Do you know what I mean? Like me passionately talking on the podcast is different than me pushing them on the swing and being silly and singing Taylor Swift. Same beat, but like different expressions. And how beautiful that our children get to see all of our expressions so that they can show up in the world in all of theirs. That is a paradigm shift right there. So I love that you said that. I love that you shared that. It is okay for us to prioritize the things that light us up. What would you say to the mom who's, I forgot what lights me up? Or I just don't know. Like I'm sure you get this all the time where I'm like, if I were to gain you 2 hours back in your day, what would you do with it? And moms look at me like, I'd go grocery shopping. I literally don't know. I don't know what I need to prioritize. I don't know what my purpose is. What would you say to that mom who's, damn, I want that clarity, but I don't know at this point in my journey?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've been there. Trust me. I would say, and by the way, this looks different, not just in different seasons of motherhood, but like it even looks different a Monday versus a Friday. It looks
Mhm.
different at 8 a.m. versus 8 p.m. This is constantly shifting and changing of what really you need in that moment. And so I would say get quiet. If getting quiet is weird and strange to you, put a timer on your phone for 5 minutes or even 1 minute, like whatever you can handle, pen and paper, and go. List all the things that make you feel good, all the things, anything and everything. Okay, you can go as crazy as like of a Caribbean vacation. You can go as simple as decluttering my closet. Whatever it is, like reading, meditating, journaling, walking around the
A
block in the
certain coffee
sunshine.
creamer.
I don't know, taking a bath,
Yes.
taking a shower.
Red
Yeah.
lipstick.
Yeah, like an extra long shower. Yeah, red lip, right? Whatever it is. The new T Swift
Don't
album.
get
I
us
don't know.
started.
Like
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah. And then because we all get these free pockets of time throughout the day, no matter how busy you think you
Mhm.
are, I'm telling you, you get them. 5 minutes here, 15 minutes there. You have them. And right now, my guess is you're pulling out your phone and you're mindlessly scrolling when you get that time. Catch yourself, pull out the list instead, and pull something from
Oh
it.
my gosh. Yes. Yes. I've heard people talk about in terms of time management, like journaling out all your 5-minute tasks and your 30-minute tasks and your dream work list. But I've not heard somebody say, brain dump your joy practices, brain dump the shit that lights you up. And when you have 5 minutes or a client cancel or you got to the bus stop early, bust out that list. That's good. That's really good. That's so
Mhm.
good. And I like that you're talking about the pocket of time too. And because I hear the time thing as well. I don't have the time.
The number one
Yeah.
excuse, and it doesn't
Nobody
matter if you're
thinks
a
they have
mom or
enough
you're not.
time.
Everybody out there has a lack mentality about their time,
Totally.
even worse than
Totally.
money,
And I
I
know I
think.
shared this with you when we connected offline before getting together here that I did Marie Forleo's Time Genius. And she talks about how we all have the same 168 hours in a week. And if you take out 45 for work and 56 for sleeping, you have 60 something hours in a week. 60. And I don't know if that's the right math. Maybe it's 50 something, but whether it's 50 or 60, that is a complete second full-time job. That is learning a language. That is learning to scuba dive. What could you do? This is saying we're working 45 hours a week. This is saying that we're sleeping 56. That's really generous. Most of us are not. What are you doing with that extra 50 and 60? There is always enough time for what matters most to you. And when you want to see where you're bleeding time, look at how much the little report your phone gives you on how much screen time you're taking a day, whether it's 3 hours or 5 hours or 8 hours. Tell me what you could do as a busy working mom with that 3 hours a day. You could do a workout and a meditation and a nap. You could declutter your closet, read a book, call a friend. Like 3 hours a day is a lot. And so it's not that we need more time, it's that we need to be more intentional with our time. So what do you have to say about intentionality, baby? Because I know you got some things to say about that.
I mean, you just took all the words out of my mouth. Yes, the intentionality piece, the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to anything time management. And when I coach and teach and present on time management, I'm quite different than your typical time manager out there. I almost cringe when I tell people I focus on that because I think that then they put me in this box of someone whose my whole life is in spreadsheets and I'm just very well organized. And the thing is, I'm fairly organized. Shit, I have 4 kids and a business. I have to be. Otherwise, I'd just be in the fetal position every day falling apart. But I'm not like insane about it. Like I'm pretty realistic when just the fact that some days I don't feel like this and some days I feel like that and some days my kid is homesick and some days I don't know, the dishwasher breaks, like whatever. Like this is just you have to ebb and flow with it. And so the intentionality piece is so crucial because you could think about the fact that, yes, those stats of, I just put a stat together for a presentation of like the average person spends 116 minutes a day on social media, not just on your phone, on social media. Now, if you're on social media as a business owner because you're researching, doing market research or creating reels or doing this or doing that's intentional social media use. And that's you not feeling crappy after the 116 minutes are up. If you're mindlessly scrolling in between all your other things that you're doing and you look at that stat and you're like, you feel completely different. You feel like you wasted nearly 2 hours of your day. You feel probably a tinge of the results of comparisonitis, of scrolling and comparing
Yep.
your real
Yep.
life to someone's highlight reel life. And it doesn't make you feel very good. So the intentionality is the whole difference. Even though you did the same amount of time doing the same task, one was intentional, one wasn't. One got you a very different feeling result versus the other. Sometimes I intentionally need to binge something on Netflix. That is what
Yes.
I intentionally
Yes.
need that night. Okay. Other times I'm unintentionally just watching TV because maybe it became a habit or this or that.
Perfect.
And I don't feel good
Yeah.
about that. That's
Yes.
unintentional,
Yeah.
right? So the intentionality doesn't mean that you're using every moment to do something quote unquote productive in your life. It means you're showing up with good reason for what you're doing. You're really thinking it through. You're not just letting the day run you, as Jim Rohn says, you're running
That's
the day.
so important and powerful. That is so important. And I highlight the power of choice and how it's our like most potent tool in our tool belt, because there are billions of things that are vying for your attention in a day, but you as a being get to choose what's going to get your attention. Is it Netflix? Is it social media? Is it your children? Is it your business? And while they all can seem really important, you do ultimately get to choose. And while that can feel like a real kick in the tits for some people, it's empowering once you embrace it and really let it in. It's no, dude, you get to decide because you're powerful, because you matter, because you're the creator of your day. Like you get to decide. Does that come with some responsibility? You betcha. But you're ready for that. Like you're ready for that. And I love what you said about like how it noticing how it makes you feel, because there is so much truth in that. Like just yesterday, I was in creation mode. I didn't know what was going to happen. My daughter was at a play date. It was a Sunday. I had listened to one of the modules in one of the 29 programs that I'm in, because like you, I always have a coach. And I was in creation mode. And I felt so alive. And I literally had a moment where I was sitting on my blue velvet sofa in my office. And I was like, I'm just fucking grateful. Like the sun is shining. Like I have love my business. I love my husband. I love my home, my daughter. We have friends. Blah, blah, blah. And then I decided to just totally subconsciously get on Instagram. And 5 minutes later, I had went from like the energy of bliss and gratitude till I was done creating for the day. I was just blah. And I took a step back and was like, I've known that as a concept and I've totally agreed with it. I've advocated for it, but it was probably the most like obvious experience of it I've had, where I was like, I was just flying at a 10 out of 10. And because I lost intentionality for a minute, fell into a bad habit, looked at my phone, now I'm at a 1. And now I don't have the energy to get back up to 10. So it just is what it is. We'll call it a day. And so where are we doing that throughout our day, whether it's social media or meeting up with someone who's just a negative Nelly and all they do is complain about their lives and they never take action, or sitting next to someone at work that's negative? It's be careful, be conscious, and be the creator of your day, because man, the time, energy, and sanity, while it can feel like there's never enough and they are finite, we get to be protective about how we use them. And when we use them intentionally, there is always enough for the things that matter most. It's just not everything gets to matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so true. It's not just the time sucks you think are apparent. Oh, my phone, or binging something on Netflix. It is the people you surround yourself with, the environments you're in. I'm sure you get this resistance sometimes of especially moms who are hesitant to make investments in themselves, right? To work with a coach or to join a program or purchase a course or whatever it is. We don't ask ourselves the question of what will it cost us to not purchase or invest in that program or individual or whatever it is, because we're standing in the same place versus the potential growth that can
Yeah.
come from that.
Yeah. We waste a lot of time over analyzing and tending to our fear stories. The younger wounded parts that are afraid to make the investment, the younger wounded parts that are afraid to leave the relationship, the younger wounded part that is afraid to advocate for the promotion. It's like we spend so much energy sitting and spinning and over analyzing and making sure it's right and obsessing than just taking action. And that is a time suck. That is an energy suck. Stop over analyzing it. Let's just, does it feel good in the body? Is it a yes in the body? Let's go. But yeah, I feel like it's helpful basically to just do an audit of your day, whether you can call it a time audit or an energy audit. Like, where are you feeling energy rich? Where are you feeling depleted? What were you doing when you felt depleted? That is a time suck. Let's cut that shit out. And you'll find, and this
Yeah.
is why I think having someone like you as the coach to help you find those like pockets of, man, if I cut this out, I get to gain an hour in my day for my self-care or for a date night or for quality time or for researching the next project, whatever it is. We will help you, but you have to be willing to trust yourself and know that you're deserving of that time that we're helping you find or that energy that we're giving you back. And sometimes it can be more safe to just sit and spin because that's familiar. But I love what you said. What is it costing you? So you didn't spend the money on the program, but you spent months obsessing about your decision, just looking at. One would have gotten you to a different outcome.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I know it's a lot easier said than done. Trust me, I'm very analytical. So I get it. But it's possible.
I love it. This has been such a beautiful conversation. So many little nuggets. Hopefully, if you're out there and you're a mom and you're working, you can just take something from this and put it in your back pocket and weave it into your world, because whatever your heart desires, you are worthy and capable of creating in your life. It just might look different than what you thought. But Marisa, tell the beautiful people where they can connect with you and follow your journey or work with you, all the good things.
Yes, beautiful people. You can find me at www.mamaworkit.com. It's spelled M-A. On social media, I'm at the handle Let Mama Work It on Instagram and Facebook. On LinkedIn, Marisa Lonic, MARISA LONIC. And marisalonic.com for more of those corporate partnerships as thank you so much for having me. I would love to connect with you. If you got something out of this episode, send me a DM, send me an email, or feel free to subscribe on the website. I send a weekly newsletter with tips, tricks, stories on working mom life, and lots of good free resources on there too.
I love how you share so many tangible tools for the working mama, like bite-sized tangible tools that are just totally going to change your life, but they're not overwhelming. So definitely, that's right.
No,
that's
one
right.
small step at
All
a
right,
time.
Marisa, thank you so much for your time and energy. And for those of you listening, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Hey mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible, because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected, because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.